YouTube, today's Monday, and that means it's time for me to make a fool of myself. Already had to run the first mission because it was sniper only, so we're headed into the next mission here. I think it said survival with some bonus magnetic damage or something like that, I'm not sure. Alright, let's hit the randomizer. Oh, wow. That was glitchy? Okay, there we go. What do I got? I have... Well, those are both instances of those weapons I was going to sell, but it looks like it's trying to tell me to play Valkyr with a bunch of Synoid weapons and Kestrel? A Kestrel. Okay. This should be pretty interesting. Thankfully, Valkyr... Oh, what the heck is wrong with my frame rate, too? Okay. This is going to be an interesting recording, I'm sure. I've had to alt-tab out twice already to try and get OBS to get working. But anyways, hopefully Valkyr will be able to handle this just because the Valkyr talents are so insane. But I'm not really sure how she's going to interact with a Kestrel. I've never tried to use Valkyr's ability to make melee weapons extremely powerful with a throwing weapon, exactly, because I don't gain that much from all the bonus attack speed that Valkyr can give them, you know? But anyways, so this particular Kestrel, I've been using Whirlwind and Entropy Flight to just get an extremely long range, extremely fast and accurate throwing projectile. And then what I've also got here is Pressure Point for some more base damage, Fury for a little bit faster throwing animation. Obviously with Valkyr's Warcry that's going to be amped up by quite a bit. Then I've got a whole bunch of base damage mods here, or not base damage, elemental damage mods here. Fever Strike, Voltaic Strike for some corrosive, and then Collision Force for some bonus impact. I want to have a lot of raw damage more than I want to have crit or status or anything because of the fact that throwing weapons, you know, you're going to be abusing the thrown attack a lot, and the throwing attack will be doing a lot more damage when you have a lot more elemental damage. And then Life Seeker comes there, right? Just for the sake of being able to heal off of things. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be using the Kestrel very much to carry this here, or if I'm going to be using more of the Valkyr talents, which are an insane weapon that has a base 50% critical chance, which is able to be amped up to 80% with True Steel, so that's fantastic. I've also got Organ Shatter, Gladiator, and Might on here for even more critical damage. We've got Fury for more attack speed, Pressure Point for more damage, and then Voltaic Strike, Prime Fever Strike for some more corrosive damage added onto there, and finally Drifting Contact because Valkyr talents do respect the combo duration added by Drifting Contact. Now you can't put body count on here, you can't put Blood Rush on here, but at least now that these are an actual weapon of their own, at least you can see that those aren't able to be equipped because of the fact that they're not available as mods. So to complement those two melee weapons, we've got my Valkyr Prime here. I'm trying to remember if I've done an episode where I've shown off Valkyr before, but if I haven't, then here's my build that I'm running. It's fairly simple here. We're just going for Vitality Steel Fiber to start with, because Valkyr is an extremely tanky Warframe. As you can see, her armor gets to pretty insane levels, and her Warcry gives her more bonus armor. I've also got the Eternal War Augment on here, which increases the duration of the Warcry buff for each time I get a melee kill, and that can stack with itself, and it'll essentially keep this ability on pretty much indefinitely. Now, both the maximum duration that Eternal War can grant to the ability and the amount of bonus duration per kill scales with power duration, so we want to have at least this 180 amount of power duration that I've got stated there. Probably Continuity and Constitution are what I'm using to accomplish that. And with that much duration on it, the ability will last roughly 50 seconds, and it will gain about 3 seconds with every melee kill. That's pretty reasonable. Being able to get a melee kill roughly every 3 seconds is doable in any sort of endless mission. It's not going to be doable in any non-endless mission because enemies just aren't dense enough, but you can still double or even triple the base duration that you get off of Eternal War with each cast there. Beyond that, we got some power strength here, so Intensify and Power Drift. If you wanted to go with a Transient Fortitude instead of the Intensify for even more power strength on your Valkyr, that would be totally viable with this build and this setup here. You do lose a bit of duration, though, which means that your Eternal War is only going to be giving a bit less per kill. Like with the 180 or so duration, I think that's actually closer to 3.5, almost 3.75 seconds, whereas with Transient Fortitude it'd be only a flat 3 seconds. So it's a little bit on the fiddly side there. I prefer playing her like this though, because I find that the amount of bonus armor and the amount of bonus attack speed that I'm getting with Warcry is absolutely fine with just the 70% there. I do not struggle to survive with Valkyr, or at least in missions where I do struggle to survive, I don't struggle to get my Hysteria cast in time. Now, one thing I used to do on my Valkyr is I used to carry the Hysterical Assault augment in the Excellence slot rather than Power Drift. I do think this augment is a lot of fun, and I think it's potentially very strong, but I got fed up with how difficult it is to target enemies with that secondary fire, because there really isn't much of a cone. Either your reticle is directly on that enemy, or you're not going to be able to cast that secondary jump, which is a bit infuriating. Beyond that, the only other mods I've gotten here are Hunter Adrenaline, so I have some Rage there to get some bonus energy whenever I take damage, and Streamline to keep... actually, that's primarily just there so I can keep Hysteria on somewhat longer. That's basically all that it's there for, though. And I shouldn't really be struggling, though, even with that magnetic damage, because of the... to keep my energy up, because of the two Synoid weapons I have here, which both have the Synoid effect attached to them, namely, whenever you get a certain amount of... affinity, you will proc a magnetic AoE, and you'll get your base energy restored and some bonus energy capacity for a few seconds. So the Synoid effect is fantastic for Warframes that are extremely energy hungry, which Valkyr is indeed not, but it'd be fun to show it off. This is my Synoid Simulor. I can remember when this weapon was absolutely insane, and when I was running this with Mirage all the time, and then the Synoid Simulor got altered somewhat, so now where the majority of the damage is dealt by the detonated explosion rather than by the ticks of damage over time and by the balls coming together. You know, it used to be that all you have to do is spam and you could have the Simulor balls come together and they would deal a huge area effect explosion. That'll be that, but now you have to manually detonate them with alt fire, which is a bit annoying. So as you can see here, I'm running Serration, Split Chamber, and Heavy Caliber because the Simulor is already so gosh darn inaccurate. You're just spamming in any general direction, and wherever the balls happen to come together is where they come together. This becomes, for me, one of the few weapons where Heavy Caliber really has no downside to it. You'll rarely see me play this mod on anything, but I think on the Simulor it makes sense. Now, on top of that, we've got all 4 dual stat mods in Corrosive and Blast configuration here, because of the fact that the damage over time from the... I don't know what's the name of it. Singularities, I guess? Miniature black holes? This is stupid. But whatever it's called. Because of the fact that the damage over time is able to proc status effects with each individual tick of damage. So we've got Corrosive to shred armor, and we've got Blast to knock down enemies. And then I've also got Stormbringer sitting around on here. There's some other options I could be going for, like Vigilante Armaments. And that might be a little bit of a better option. I just kind of like to go with Stormbringer there. And it's not really a big issue. I'm just trying to get the corrosive percentage as high as possible to shred armor faster. There's obviously a lot better things you could be doing with the Synoid Simulor, but the weapon's kind of fallen out of favor for me. Now, not so much the Gammacor. I do still absolutely adore the Synoid Gammacor. I feel like it's still among the strongest secondary weapons in the game because of how much raw DPS it puts out, and because of the fact that it's got that Synoid effect attached to it. Now, there are some other weapons that have gotten buffs since this weapon's release, and the Gammacor kind of hasn't been changed much, so it's starting to fall off in terms of power creep, but it's still a very, very good weapon. Now, here I'm running this particular Riven mod, which is multi-shot, electricity, and punch through. That minus damage to Corpus is going to be a bit of an issue this mission, but should still be fine because of how much magnetic damage this weapon deals. Hornet Strike for more base damage, and 2 more multi-shot mods. Since I've got the multi-shot Riven, it would be arguable that maybe I don't need both of these, but, you know, Spell Diffusion is too much multi-shot not to take advantage of, and the fire rate on Lethal Torrent does increase the DPS of the weapon, since this weapon is fully automatic and has a very high fire rate. Beyond that, I've got some corrosive damage with Jolt Pistol Pestilence, and then I added on some cold damage, and more corrosive with that pathogen rounds. Again, the same concept as the other weapon, where I have a very, very high status chance, as it can see there, and I'm trying to just make sure it shreds armor as fast as possible. Not that there are going to be very many armored Corpus enemies, but it's not a big deal. The cold there arguably could also be fire. I particularly like cold on the Synoid Gammacor just because it slows enemies down and makes them easier to hit. Arguably,
on navigation,
you could also look at that. And this Death Cube, I have no idea what's on it. I don't use Death Cube ever because I don't particularly like the Vaporize Precept. It's very simplistic. It just nukes a single enemy down, but eventually the damage dealt by Vaporize is going to fall off. And I would rather, in that kind of scenario, I'd rather at least have Doriga where it's going to shock nearby enemies, or Worm where it's going to knock them back. This just has no real crowd control attached to it. The enemy, one single enemy gets staggered by it. Anyway, so we got Vaporize there. Vacuum, of course. Animal Instinct, of course. Vitality and Regen for a bit more survivability. Guardian Mid-Array, that just seems fine. And, of course, Sacrifice, which hopefully is there to keep me alive if things go poorly. Now, one last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and swap off of the Zener because I shouldn't be needing that. Actually, normally on Valkyr I take Neramon just because of the melee combo counter depleting slowly rather than depleting completely all at once. But I don't actually know if I'm going to be relying as heavily on my Kestrel here. So I might just go ahead and set her up with Nairu for now, for the Reflecting Spines. I obviously, my focus schools are not fantastic here. I'm looking to get this Sunder and Dash unlocked with the Nairu pretty soon, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try that out. I'll see if that actually helps here. Don't know if the Kestrel, the way I have it built, is going to be able to carry me through the mission, but Valkyr is just a very tanky Warframe at base, and I should be able to use that Gammacor to get enough kills. To be totally honest, what's got me the most worried is the fact that these enemies have magnetic resistance, and both of those weapons are based on magnetic damage, which could be more than a bit of an issue. So I may end up having to use the Kestrel, or more likely the Valkyr Talons, just to get myself through this mission. See how that goes.
Life support has been cut off. They're trying to choke you out.
One thing that's for certain is I'm not going to be too worried about Eternal War turning itself off.
The first life support capsule has arrived.
Like I'll cast it. Oh yeah. Oh, this is not an issue. No, this damage is not an issue whatsoever. You see there where the biggest burst of damage comes on the detonate rather than on the damage over time. With the Synoid Simulor, this just isn't nearly as scary as it used to be. It's still a decent weapon. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not nearly as scary as it used to be. Barrels exploded because it looks like we have this room. This room is a little bit annoying. Doesn't have the fact that it's this is just not dealing damage. Holy god! Yeah, the biggest issue with the war weapons and the Kestrel and whatnot is that they become extremely powerful when used with warframes that have stealth mechanics, because they're very good at applying stealth multipliers onto enemies. You know, the guaranteed stealth crits and whatnot. But they're just not very good as a survival mission carry style weapon. Like, I'll try pulling this out. Oh, maybe I won't. Oh dear, I am taking a lot of damage off of that stuff. This is not good. Not one of these weapons is dealing hardly any damage. See if I get some life steal here. Hysteria is built in life, of course. Oh, gotta keep Death Cube alive. Death Cube goes down, it might be an issue for me, because I need that to be a sacrifice readiness. Okay. It's got to be good enough for now. Let's try this Gammacor. I think this might actually deal a lot of damage per second to kill these suckers. Yeah, that's not terrible, but I still have gotten barely any kills here. Yeah, god. One thing I've been interested in trying on my Gammacor is actually rebuilding it for speed, because when they did the beam weapon, they went, oh, that's dealing quite literally 0 damage. I don't know what kind of aura that is that's causing to do that. Holy cow. Guardian aura or some kind of Exodus or what? That dealt quite literally 0 damage to people those enemies. And here's the problem, right? Is the fact that these weapons are all elemental and partially magnetic, and these enemies have magnetic damage and magnetic resistance. So I don't know that this is going to be doable. I'll tell you this.
Prepare for life support.
Definitely going to dig into that hysteria. Definitely going to be not afraid to pop those life support capsules. Holy cow. I gotta make it 10 minutes. So normally you can easily get life support. Figure out with just the capsules if it's only going to 5 minutes, but 10. That corpus tech. One of the nice things I can do with the Kestrel is I can use it to CC enemies, and also there's this whole dual killing thing going on. This is a one-handed melee, or one-handed pistol, I guess.
Capsule available.
Really gotta deal with this melee fire. It's dealing a bit of damage, but not enough. Kill that Valkyr before he turns back on. Warp right back on. Oh, never mind. Waste the energy. One of the nice things about this build that I'm running, by the way, is the fact that
You are running out of
it does not reduce Valkyr's power range. Most people like to play her. I should have probably mentioned that on the way by. A lot of people do like to play Valkyr as a narrow-minded Warframe. And I can absolutely respect that, but I dislike the loss of power range because it makes it so that her Q, the SpiderMan rip line, becomes very hard to cast in a useful way. And this doesn't lash out from very far away. You know, so I do. Oh, he's taking quite literally 0 damage.
Life support on the way.
This is hopeless, I think. Kestrel is a low damage weapon when you don't have a stealth Warframe, and the other 2 weapons are entirely elemental that I roll for. Unless something weird like going after people with my operator weapons is gonna work here. Maybe? Nah, they're dealing too much damage. My operator's just gonna die over and over if I try that. Oh boy.
30-second warning.
Tried to.
I've delivered
Gosh,
another
dang it, I'm hitting the roll button, but I got CC'd by that twice trying to roll through it. Okay. Now let's pop both these capsules and then pop Hysteria and see if I can't kill a few enemies.
That should keep you going for a while.
I'm not even gonna bother turning on the warp drive. I just want to use the energy for Hysteria.
Life support activated.
Oh wow! That was a good long hit. One nice thing is that exalted weapons can hit nullifier bubbles, so you can take that down with the Hysteria clause. But still a bit of an issue. Oh man. It's not dropping life support for me here, and I gotta get 4 more minutes with no capsules. I'm about to add to keep too, so I don't have my enemy radar on anymore. Got to go visually, figure out where they're at. Okay, let's turn that off real quick. Oh dear! That'll kill a Valkyr in a hurry, if you aren't careful. Yep. Speaking of which, there's another one right there. Hey, actually got a kill. Nice. And the damage I took refilled my energy because of the rage I had equipped. I think it was actually Hunter Mod, but now this Hysteria build is not super fantastic in terms of the energy management, but it's not bad. Come on. Yeah, there we go. It's not bad in terms of Hysteria management here. The 30% net bonus efficiency, so 70% cost, and 180 for the duration. I think it would have to be, what, 200? Okay, that would be 280 for it to be at minimum return cost. So it's not amazing, but it's going to be a lot worse. I need to make sure that I'm in that room to activate that life support. Instant pops up, which appears to be ready. Hey, you. Hey, you. Yeah, that's right.
30 seconds left.
Oh, God. That's super... Just by school camp is just so scary. Wow.
Life support.
Yeah, this is designed as a grenadier killing weapon. That's what I've got designed as. This is the status chance and oh dear, how much energy did I lose? Just with status chance and a whole bunch of corrosive damage. Oh, that's all the more I get there. Oh no. Oh, landed headshot on me with some nullifier. It might be lethal. Woo!
Tenno, prepare for life support.
This is highly defensive. Oh no. I'm gonna go and just take out this. Nope, never mind. Just take out this nullifier is what I was trying to say. There's 3 of them. Holy cow. Spin attack for him. Oh my word. This is the most I think I've ever had to rely on my exalted weapon rate. Now that I may have rolled. None of these weapons are dealing any damage. The Kestrel is getting the occasional kill, but it takes the Gammacor almost a full second to kill even the Ospreys. I'm not sure that there would have been much of a build I could have done differently there either.
Second warning.
Okay. I have enough energy, I can kill a few of these enemies, get some life support. Valkyr's never the best for soloing survival mission anyway, though, because of how she really relies on being able to cleave through enemies fast with a melee weapon that has a long range on it. Oh, it is up there. Oh dear. Oh, and I got hit with a proc too, right as I went into hysteria. Well, with this capsule, I might be able to get there. 1% life support when it comes there. That's lucky.
That should keep you going.
You know what, Moa? Deal some damage to me, that's right. As long as they don't... Ow. As long as they don't proc the...
Get ready for a capsule.
Magnetic status. I'll be okay. I'll get the energy out of it. But
You are running out of
holy
time.
cow. Okay, there we go. Third A life support capsule to win then. Just trying to hit this null bubble. Get to these enemies here. Finish her. Valkyr talents, thankfully, are IPS based. It's a mixed IPS, but it still is IPS as opposed to the elemental damage. That's the important thing to recognize here, right? Is that what's making this so hard is not that the weapons I brought are bad, because they're not. They're just bad weapons for the modifier that was here, where the enemies are getting elemental damage and, more importantly, elemental damage resistance. I think with that life support capsule, I might be able to do this now. Please don't kill me while I'm doing this. Oh god.
That should keep you going for a while.
I think that's enough life support. 35% life support should get me 20 seconds. Woo! And high damage Corpus. High damage level 70 or so Corpus. The Valkyr is among the tankiest Warframes in the game. Oh, I can't get through it.
30-second
Valkyr
warning.
is among the tankiest Warframes in the game because of her
Extraction
huge
is
base
available
armor, 700 or
if you
whatever.
need it.
And
The raid is
while I would
off
not
to a
describe her as
successful
being
start.
a good traditional tank because of how little crowd control she has and how much she relies on being able to rapidly kill enemies with her weapons, she definitely is not dying through all that damage. I appreciate that. Woo! This life support's going to be ticking down, though. I'm going to be taking damage. Reply! Oh, there we go. Thank goodness it's extraction. There we go! Out of life support. We're through! Woo! That was more than a little bit hairy. Yeah, bonus magnetic damage with 2 magnetic damage weapons there with the Synoids. Bit of an issue. But the Kestrel's still my favorite throwing weapon of all time. I don't use throwing weapons hardly ever, but when I do, I love the Kestrel. Just that bonus throwing rate, and I guess it's worth noting that on a Warframe where I couldn't really use bonus energy to spam, all 3 of my weapons had the entropy effect attached to them because of that Synoid augment that was attached to it. So that's pretty amusing. But yeah, those 2 good reasons to use the Kestrel. Anyways, that's I'd say that we got pretty lucky there. Kind of dodged a bullet that Valkyr was just barely able to pull through. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today. Talk to you later, YouTube. Herp to derp out.